Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Thursday to you all. I want to make a quick correction to the video that went out earlier today for Contingency Medical. On that video I stated that they do not ship to Alaska. However, they do ship to Alaska, so that's great news for us up here. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, another announcement. Remember that tomorrow on Friday is our Christmas Bash in December giveaway. We're going to be giving away a whole bunch of awesome stuff, and it's going to start at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, so I hope to see you all there. Now let's get to why it is that the dollar, ladies and gentlemen, it's on its way out, and you have to prepare for that. It's just as important for you to be preparing for the day when the dollar is no longer the world reserve currency than it is for you to be preparing with food and putting, things to the side that you know that you're going to need in the future. That's just as important, but you need to be preparing to make sure that, in my opinion, if you have wealth that is excess wealth, that you can carry it over with you to this new paradigm that we're entering into. The Global South births a new game-changing payment system. Now, this is a lot bigger than what I think most people would understand. If you take all of the nations, i.e. countries, that are joining this system, ladies and gentlemen, it's more than half of the world population. I would say that it's closer to 3/4 of the world population. Now, when you take 3/4 of the world's transactions that were previously being done in dollars and just take that away, even if it's over time, eventually your dollars are going to be worth a heck of a lot less. And the reason for this, putting it simply, is because those dollars that are out there circulating, being used for international trade, when they are no longer needed, they are going to go home to the only home that has to accept them, and that is here, the United States of America, and or any other countries that are not going to be part of this new monetary system that Russia, the BRICS nations, along with all the other nations, I think they're called the BRICS Plus now, nations, are going to be putting those dollars to the side. So they're going to be coming to us, the ones that accept those dollars, meaning that more dollars in the economy equals what? It equals inflation and prices, because there's more dollars chasing either the same amount of goods or lesser goods. Now, I don't know if you've checked, but Western nations, they don't really produce as much as they used to decades ago. So if we don't produce much, where are we going to buy the things that we need from? We're going to buy those things from countries that produce the things that we need. And a lot of those countries, yes, they're going to be part of the BRICS Plus nations, meaning that we're going to have to convert our dollars into their currency if we want to do business with them. So this is the time to start preparing for that. And just to allow you to understand, when I talk about excess wealth, what I mean is wealth that you have left over after you've prepared. So once you have a full pantry that will be extended out to however long you feel comfortable with keeping a full pantry, once you have all those things that you know that you have to get from imported goods, especially things that come from China, things that come from India, things that come from Pakistan, from Vietnam, from the Philippines, those things are going to become a lot more expensive once this new monetary system is in full play. So once you have all of those things that you need, if you still have funds available, if you still have wealth available, that, in my opinion, is called excess wealth, because it's wealth beyond having everything that you need to physically survive. But ladies and gentlemen, do you just want to survive? Or do you want to thrive once we do shift over to this new paradigm? Because it will be a new paradigm. Everything will be different than the way that we see it now. Our lives, in my opinion, are going to change in a big way. Now let's see what they have to say here. I will leave the link for all of these articles that I'm going over, because I have a few more that are very good that I'm going to cover briefly on a pinned comment. That way you can come and revisit them if you would like. The system will include, and they're talking about this new system that the BRICS Plus nation are developing, and actually, in my opinion, they've already developed it, right? They just haven't put it into full use yet. The system will include a single payment card in direct competition with Visa and MasterCard, merging the already existing Russian MIR, China's UnionPay, India's RuPay, and Brazil's ELO, and others. So these are like payment systems that they have in those countries. And here they say that will represent a direct challenge to the Western design and enforced monetary system head on. Why did they put "and enforced" there? Ladies and gentlemen, do you think that the United States and the Western nations are going to be able to get away with what they've gotten away with in the past? And when I say they, I don't mean we the people. I mean governments, right? Because governments, in my opinion, are separate from we the people, right? They're not going to be able to get away with what they've been doing for the past several decades, which is bullying countries around, telling them, hey, if you don't adhere to using the dollar, guess what's going to happen to your country? We're going to come and we're going to allow you to be free. We're going to bring you democracy. Unfortunately, the way that they've been doing that for the past several decades is bombing them into democracy, which creates nothing but sorrow for both them and us, the countries involved in trying to turn over these countries to do what we want them to do. I digress. And it comes on the heels of BRICS members already transacting their bilateral trade in local currencies and bypassing the US dollars. So they're already doing this on their own, bypassing the use of the US dollar and doing bilateral trades with countries, meaning using their own currency. But now they're going to merge all of these BRICS, and I'm going to say plus nations, into one system, which is going to give them a lot more power than what they have now. And I'll finish this one off with this, ladies and gentlemen. Slowly but surely, what is emerging is the big picture of a fractured world featuring a dual trade circulation system. Dual trade, they mean that the Eastern nations are going to have their own trade, their own trading system, and the Western nations will have their own. The problem, again, that I find with that is that what do Western nations produce that bring value to your life? Yes, we produce some food, and unfortunately, Western nations are trying to get us to produce less food for some reason. You know, do we even make hammers in the U.S.? I don't know. But you know what I mean. One will be revolving around the remnants of the old dollar system, which is the one that we're using now and the one that we have to prepare. When I say that the dollar will go away, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean that the actual dollar or the use of the Federal Reserve note will go away. It's that the definition of a dollar will change. Right now, the definition of a dollar is hey, you can get this for that. But once this system is in full play, and all of the countries that are going to adhere to the new system with the East go along to get along with that side, the value of our dollar will greatly diminish. Greatly. That's why I say that we all need to prepare to preserve our excess wealth. This, ladies and gentlemen, is proof that the U.S. is going to go into, my opinion, what will be a Great Depression. Let me tell you why. IMF chief says that the U.S. must keep raising interest rates because they owe it to the world. Well, who's the IMF to be saying that to the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen? The IMF pretty much owns the government. I guarantee you that if the IMF is saying do this, you'll see our government, i.e. Federal Reserve, do what they're saying to do. Right? So this is what tells me that we're going to go into a Great Depression. You can see that our economy is now in a downturn, right? And it has been in a downturn for a while, whether it's man-made or not, right? So it's in a downturn, and our Fed funds rate is only at I think it's 3.75 or 4%, which is not that much. What this tells me here, this article, is that the Fed is not going to ease. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. They're going to continue to increase interest rates. And what happens when they increase interest rates is they make money more expensive, meaning that it costs you more to borrow the same amount of money that it did when interest rates were at 1% or 2%. So I see interest rates, especially for mortgages, going up to 9, 10, 11%. That's just my opinion, but that's where I see it going. And by the time that interest rates get that high, our economy is going to be obliterated. Homelessness is going to skyrocket. People are going to have... Unemployment is going to skyrocket, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that the rate of unemployment right now is 3.8, 3.9%, as is stated officially, then you really need to do a little bit of research. Unemployment is going to skyrocket. I would say that real unemployment will be 25-30%, just as much as it was during the Great Depression back in the 1930s. Right, so that's why I think we're going to be heading into a Great Depression. And the ironic thing about it is this, is that before I would have stated that we would be heading into a worldwide Great Depression. But now I think that it will be those countries interacting with the dollar and using the dollar as the reserve currency that will be heading into a Great Depression. And then those other countries that we just talked about a few minutes ago, the BRICS plus nations that are entering into this new monetary system, I think that they're going to be okay. Because from what I heard, and I cannot confirm this, but from what I've heard is that they are going to be backing their currency up with gold, or with things that are actually tangible, that have real physical value. So you have to prepare for what's coming. Now, is it going to happen tomorrow? Obviously not. This is something that's been going on for a very long time. But would you rather know now, 1 year, 2 years, even 5 years ahead of time, so that you can do your own research and then convince yourself that, yeah, I need to start preparing for this in a different way other than just piling up food, right? Nothing wrong with that. Trust me. If you've been here for a while, you know that I like to pile up the food because we all need to eat. Right? But there's a different way of preparing for what's coming other than just piling up things and learning how to, start a fire with a ferrocerium rod. The head of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, I think that's how you pronounce it, has cautioned against the Federal Reserve slowing down with its interest rate hikes as it attempts to tame soaring inflation. It's going to take more interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve before they get off the gas, before they pivot. And once they pivot, ladies and gentlemen, you see, there's no way out. There is no way out. If the Federal Reserve keeps bringing up interest rates, guess what happens? Our economy is going to implode. And then if the Federal Reserve pivots and brings back down interest rates, guess what happens? We're going to have inflation like we've never seen before. There is no way out. I hope that you are paying attention, and I hope that you are first and foremost do your own research. That way you can convince yourself. You can be sitting there right now saying, man, this guy is a kook. What asylum did they get this guy out of? But please do your own research. After you research it for yourself and you look at all of the intricacies that has to do with interest rates going up and going down, then you can convince yourself either way. And then it is you that has to live with the consequences of the decisions that you make today and the actions that you take to either prepare or not prepare for the future. And I'll finish this article off with what Ms. Georgieva said on Tuesday. She noted that inflation remains high in the United States and Europe, that it must remain high in the United States and Europe, adding that the data at this point says that it's too early to step back from increasing interest rates. It's going to take a lot higher interest rates in order to quell inflation. You have to understand that even if inflation is what they say, which is like 7.8%, 8%, something like that, we have to go above that. So imagine a world where the Fed funds rate is double what it is now, and you're paying 11, 12% for mortgages. What do you think is going to happen to the value of houses when there are mortgages selling for 12, 11%? The value is going to have to go down. The nominal value is going to have to go down. Why? Because people can't afford to borrow money at 11, 12% interest, with inflation being the way that it is. We've all been there. Those of us that have experience in anything, we all know that we've failed in the past. Well, right now, a lot of the bankers that we have, hedge fund managers, executives, they've never been through a big downfall like we had back in 2007, 2008. So they don't have the experience really to see us through this, which tells me that this time around, we're not going to get out of it as easily as we did before. And the reason I say easily, even though millions of people lost their home, is because, number one, the Fed was just able to print their way out of this. I don't believe that they'll be able to print their way out of this now. But number two, these executives that are working these jobs now, that control your retirements, that control your savings, that invest all of these things into a stock market that I see going down substantially. You see, I see the stock market going up, but I'm going to see it going down substantially eventually. We are in a bear market trend. And what we're experiencing right now with I think it's the Dow Jones that broke over the 200-day moving average. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just a bear market rally. It's going to go back down and go back down even further, but it's going to take years. Just like in the Great Depression, in the 1929 stock market crash, right before the Great Depression started, it took about 3 years for the stock market to lose about 95% of its value. Then it took 26 years before it regained that nominal value. But what people don't talk about is that during that 26 years that it took for the stock market to go back up to where it started before it started crashing in 29, is that about 54% of the purchasing power of those dollars had evaporated. So it took a lot more, in my opinion, than the 26 years that they saved for the market to get back up to where it was. It did not make people whole at that time. It only made them half whole, right? Because of inflation. Of course. Well, here it says, top city exec marvels that an entire generation of bankers only know how to deal with cheap money. They don't properly know how to invest your money. They talk about gold as if it is a barbarous relic, right? But they don't know what the real value of gold and silver is. So they don't understand that they can hedge with that. Why is it that central banks have been buying gold at a crazy pace? I think it's the fastest pace in the last 55 years or so. Central banks have been buying gold. Why do governments hold gold? Because it is a hedge. It is a hedge against systems going down. It is a hedge against their nasty fiat currencies. They know it has real value. But these younger executives that are working your retirement funds, they don't know that. And even having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that a lot of retirement funds aren't even allowed to hold physical gold for their customers, right? For their pensioners. They can hold it in paper, but what good is paper gold? It's absolutely fascinating to me that I have people who come to me who are starting to think about being made a managing director in an investment bank, who started in business in 2010 and 11. And so they've never really seen an environment where money hasn't essentially been free or very, very cheap. So they're going to learn some lessons that hopefully they'll take forward with them in their careers. But this lesson, in my opinion, is going to be a much more difficult lesson to learn than that was learned back in 2008-9. I'm not really going to cover this one very much. I'm just going to go ahead and read it for you real quick. The title, Banking Elites Are Using Crypto Bloodbath and FTX Fraud to Justify CBDCs. CBDCs are coming whether we like it or not. We need to prepare for that. The way that I'm preparing for that is the way that I prepare for almost anything else. Have everything that I need. Transfer some of my fiat currency that is excess wealth into real money, right? And that will allow us to resist. To resist those things that they will program into our money once we have a CBDC. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I am an optimist by nature. And this right here, I consider this a very evil system that they're trying to push onto us, we the people. But I see it coming. And the reason I see it coming is because 63% of Americans, very simple, 63% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I see it coming. Are you one of those? Are you one of those people? I'm not downing you if you are, right? Just understand that first so that you don't click off right now. Are you one of those people that lives paycheck to paycheck? Now ask yourselves, what will you do if you lose your job and you don't have any job offers for 6 months and you've gone through your savings and you can see that you're now not able to buy food or pay to keep a roof over your head? What will you do if you have children? If they offer a CBDC and you have no job prospects and all you're looking at is being kicked out on the street and not being able to feed your children, what will you do if they offer a CBDC and they say that this is going to fix all of your ails? What will you do? Ask yourselves that. It's an important question to ask yourself. And depending on your answer, in my opinion, would depend on how much harder you're going to prep to make sure that you can resist the best that you can. Because look, understand that preparedness is not for the end of the world. It's not only for major crises. It's not only for SHTF. Preparedness, first and foremost, is for everyday life. So let's say, for example, that you have a 6 months savings put aside, because that should be part of your preparedness plan, having some savings put aside for emergency, right? Let's say that you lose your job. Well, guess what? If you're prepped with food, you don't have to worry about food for the next 6 months to a year, depending on how much you had. And then you can go ahead and stretch out that emergency supply. You're not going to be using gasoline to get back and forth to work. You may be only using it a little bit. Your full-time job, if you lose your job, is to get another full-time job. But there's a whole bunch of gigs that you can do out there, side gigs that you can do to keep your head above water. So the better prepared you are, the better that you will be able to endure either a personal crisis or a national or systemic crisis, ladies and gentlemen. It's just smart. It's not a gimmick. It's just smart to be prepared. And for the slap in your face America portion of this video, ladies and gentlemen, the Biden administration pledges $53 million to help restore Ukraine's damaged power grid. $53 million, ladies and gentlemen. Take $53 million and divide it by 548,000, and that's how much we could spend on each homeless person in the United States of America. But I digress, and let's finish it off with some good news. Number of handgun owners carrying daily nearly doubles in the U.S. Let me tell you why that's good news. This tells me that there are twice as many law-abiding citizens carrying firearms now so that they can protect themselves should something happen that's out of their control. But AP, how do you know that they're law-abiding citizens? Well, how did they get the numbers? The way that they got their numbers more than likely are from people that bought handguns and are carrying now, right? So, you know, when you fill out that paperwork, when you go buy a firearm of any kind, do you really think that they don't keep track of that? They know exactly who bought what, where, and when, and they keep track of that. But it is important, ladies and gentlemen, that we continue to keep the arms industry in business. I'm still thinking about going to get that little pea shooter that I saw on sale at Sportsman's Warehouse. I still have till like Christmas to do it. Still thinking about it. But anyways, it's important that we practice our rights, that we actually, take it to heart, that we should practice those rights that we have. Because your rights are just like muscles. If you don't work out your muscles, you'll end up like me, a fat body. So make sure that you work out your rights and your muscles as well. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it for the 12th time. Make sure that you are there tomorrow, 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Friday, for our Christmas Bash giveaway in December. It's going to be a lot of fun. Other than that, I hope that you have a great day. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your support. I love you all. God bless America. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.